Good afternoon, Miss. Good afternoon, everyone. My presentation this afternoon is based on some very important laws and policies that help persons with disability. Now, before I go on, let's understand the term disability. According to the World Health Organization, a disability is a limitation in a person's ability to carry out activities, to partake in life challenges due to a health condition, physical, mental, or sensory impaired. A person with disability may not be able to carry out his or her daily activity as compared to a person without disability. But this does not mean that they cannot learn or they cannot be successful. It simply means that they need support, tools, and understanding from others. Now, these laws and policies I'll be discussing with you this afternoon ensure that everyone, no matter their ability, has a chance to go to school, they're entitled a job, and they could partake in community. So the first one I'll be discussing with you is the Guyana Persons with Disability Act. This was signed by the government of Guyana through the Ministry of Social Protection in the year 2010. This act was created to protect the rights of persons with disability and to ensure that everyone, those persons with disability, partake in all aspects of society. Let's move on to the benefits. It provides legal protection and it also encourages inclusion and participation in all aspects of society. Of course, there are some challenges. Limited public awareness. In some rural areas in our countries, persons do not know much about this law. And also, we do not have a lot of trained teachers or specialized teachers in this area. This law is historically important since it was one of the first laws that was created to protect the rights of persons with disability. Let's move on to the second. Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disability. This was signed by many countries, including Guyana, in the year 2006 and came in effect in May 2008. This is an international agreement that was created by the United Nations. It protects the rights and dignity of persons with disability all around the world. It promotes equal opportunities and inclusion for persons with disability in all aspects of life worldwide. It benefits persons by encouraging inclusion and respect. Persons with disability can now go to school, they could involve in sports, they could even find a job. However, there are some challenges. Now, there are some countries that may not have the same kind of support. Some countries may not have enough resources. And there are some countries that take longer to put these laws into practice. Now, this law is historically important since it was the first global treaty that was created to protect the rights of persons with disability. So the third one we'll be discussing is the Equal Opportunity Act, Trinidad and Tobago. This was passed by the government of Trinidad and Tobago and the Equal Opportunity Commission. It promotes equal access to work, education, and public space. A person can now learn or they can now work without being treated unfair. For example, a child who has difficulty hearing can have a sign language interpreter to help her understand what is being taught in the classroom. Of course, there are some challenges. Limited public awareness and delay in resolving complaints. Also, there are some persons who really don't know their rights. This law is historically important since it was the first equality law in the Caribbean. It opens a path for other islands to start protecting persons with disability, start protecting the rights of persons with disability, and to promote fairness. The third we'll be looking at is the Americans with Disability Act, which is also called the ADA. This was passed by US Congress, signed by President George Bush. This law was created to protect persons with disability from being treated unfairly. It promotes equal access in education, employment, and public access. Persons with disability that uses a wheelchair can go about using public facilities with having a special stairway that they could use to get them into the building and out. Let's look at the benefits. It promotes fair treatment and inclusion. It protects the civil rights of persons with disability and allow them to live and work independently. Some challenges include incomplete accessibility and uneven enforcement. Of course, there are some outdated buildings that still need to be updated to accommodate persons with disability, especially the ones that uses wheelchair. The historical significance. This act was a landmark in the US history because it changed the way society views disability. It also encourages other countries to take the same step in promoting inclusion. Lastly, the National Policy on Persons with Disability. This was adopted by the Ministry of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs. This policy was created to help guide the country on how to support persons with disability. It creates equal inclusive education, employment, and accessible public spaces. It promotes awareness, independence, and social protection. It removes barriers. Persons with disability can now study, work, and live confidently. Of course, there are some challenges: limited resources and weak enforcement. The historical significance. First national step towards full disability inclusion. This policy helped Barbados to build more accessible schools and public spaces for persons with disability. It also set a good example in the Caribbean, since this law is the first that includes full disability inclusion. To wrap these up, these 5 laws, they all have one thing in common. And you know what that is? It's to protect the rights of persons with disabilities. They remind us that a person, regardless of their ability, should be treated with respect, fairness, and opportunities. As teachers, we can support these rights by showing kindness, patience, and inclusion every day in our classroom. Thank you for listening.